for him. Our life before the diagnosis was like, we were like this picture perfect family. Firstly, when you tell people you've got twins and a boy and a girl, they're like, "Arey wah, complete family ho gaya." It's like this kind of cliched Indian thing of having a boy and a girl. It's, you've got two for the price of one kind of thing, all those kind of cliches. And we really were this very picture perfect family. We would take our kids out. It was like, wow, look at them, the boy and a girl, and how lucky she is. She's got twins and stuff like that. There was a little bit of, I felt, under the surface, there was tension, because I think both of us knew that there was something up with Veer. Gayatri was much more outgoing, much friendlier, and would get a lot of attention. And Veer would kind of be ignored. And this really used to bother me. It used to really bother me. And I would keep fighting and saying, people aren't giving him attention and things like that. And I think that stress really kind of crept into our relationship a little bit, because in a sense, it was almost that why is it not as perfect as it looks, and there was a pressure almost to have it be as perfect as it looks. And then Veer's diagnosis happened, and it was really, really hard, because I remember that time the kids were 3. Mohit had the year before set up his own firm. So he was he had to build his practice, and therapy costs a lot of money. You have to be able to earn to pay for that therapy. I was not working because I had these kids. And so I, would spend time taking Veer to therapy and stuff like that. And I was permanently stressed, permanently exhausted. He was stressed and exhausted because he was building up his practice. Plus there was, Veer's autism. And so it was very, very hard. It was really hard. And then when Veer was 5.5, which was about two years after his diagnosis, I started working as a therapist at Umeed. I trained to be a therapist. And so what tended to happen was that I would work with Veer, and I really, really worked hard with him. And Mohit would come back at the end of the day and I'd say, "You know what? You don't have time to spend with him. Spend time with him." So then he would spend time with him. And when he was spending time with him, I would say, "That's not the way you do it. I've learned that this is the way you do it." And so I would tell him, "Don't talk like this, talk like this, or play like this." And so that really caused a lot of tension. I think also men fathers find it very hard to process feelings about a child with a disability. And so I think while I had women who I could talk to, I had my work, which I think really helped me a lot, because I was seeing and working with autistic kids and their families. And I think somehow that, it worked, my own emotions worked themselves out, because I was helping other kids and their families. And Mohit didn't have that. He's a lawyer. It's a very black and white world. It's a world which is, all about work and the law, and there are all these kind of very concrete kind of things which go on in his world. And here was my world. And at some point of time, it became very evident that there was this huge disconnect kind of happening. And especially because I would say, "Why aren't you playing with Veer?" Of course, Gayatri was easier to play with. Of course, it was easier to play with her. Veer was very hard to connect with initially. I would find it so hard to connect with him. And we tried lots of things. But it was really hard to get that connection, which is what, later on I would explain to families, that the connection is the most important thing. Forget about the reading, writing and stuff. You have to have that connection with your child. So it was really, really hard for a while. I think we went through our extreme lows, and then we slowly started, kind of building our connection with him, with each other again. I think there was no doubt about the fact that we were a team, but we were a team where two players were playing their own goals in that sense. But it took a while to rebuild that connection. It took a while to kind of for him to really, really reach that stage of acceptance, for me to understand that he can play with him or be with him in his own way, and I can be with Veer in my own way, and there's no wrong and right. And eventually, I have to say, 15 years later, it's lovely to see the connection that father and son have. They've got a really strong bond. They're very, very close to each other, and it's really a very sweet thing.